Hi all, welcome to Jen's Creation Station. This evening I'm going to show you how to make these really simple ornaments. I'll hold it on its side so you can see it. It's got 14 leaves on it and then just some gold braid to hang it from. The original idea, Betty B from Missoula teaches at the Memory Lane scrapbooking store where I teach. And this has been on display for a few months, and I just fell in love with it. I took a picture and brought it home. She used alcohol ink for the color. She used gold embossing powder, and embossed the leaves and some beads, and she used green Christmas ornaments. I didn't care for the green because I don't like green ornaments on my green tree, and after experimenting with the embossing powder, I decided I liked the stickles better. This one is made with cranberry alcohol ink and goldenrod stickles. This one is red on red. This one was actually a mistake. I tried to make green leaves. They didn't show up against the gold, and I had already used the red stickles, Christmas red stickles, so I just painted them red with the cranberry. This one is wild plum alcohol ink overlaid with eggplant to darken it. It was a little too pink for me, and the gold stickles. And then this one I used denim alcohol ink with the gold stickles. I didn't have a full bottle of gold stickles, and by the time I got done with the blue ornament I'd run out of gold stickles. So this evening we're going to take this gold kind of a brush finished ornament, and we're going to make it silver with silver alcohol ink with blue leaves. Betty, who teaches at the Memory Lane scrapbooking store, does the most amazing thing with alcohol ink, and someday I'd like to take some lessons from her, but I live 4 hours from Missoula, so when I find something I'm kind of on my own to try to recreate it. So let's get started. I'll tell you what you need for your project. Okay, the ornaments you'll need are 2 3/4 inches in diameter. I wasn't able to find any locally where I live in north central Montana. I did find these at Walmart. They were 4 brushed gold and 4 shiny gold like this for $4.95, which isn't a bad deal. So you'll need one of these, this size, and as you can see this one has a scratch. Don't worry about it if it does. That'll be covered up by the leaves. The next thing you'll need is some alcohol ink. I'm going to use denim alcohol ink. And you'll also need your silver alcohol ink, the silver mixative. Make sure you shake it good so you hear that ball move freely. And you'll need silver to cover the ornament unless you buy silver ornaments. I'm going to use silver stickles on mine. You'll also need your embossing heat gun, and you'll need your glue gun to glue the leaves on. The thing you're going to need is either a hand-drawn leaf or a stamp. I used my Nature's Vein from close to my heart. I used this leaf, and I rounded the end of it, cut it out and rounded the end of it so that it would fit on the ornament better. I made a template out of it and put a little handle on it because it's hard to get this off the plastic once you've traced around it. And you'll also need a black pen. I tried my Stampin' Up! Black ink marker. It didn't work. I tried my Close to My Heart black ink marker. I ended up using this writing pen from Martha Stewart, and I liked it because once I cut my leaves out, I was able to wipe it off the plastic. Clearly for Art modeling film. And you get 3 8x10 sheets. I paid $4.50 for it. It's called Art Parts Studio 490 Wendy Vecchi, and it's made by Stampers Anonymous. I believe you can buy this at most scrapbook stores. I know I found a couple of places online. If you just pull up Clearly for Art, you'll be able to, on a Google search, you'll be able to find it. or check your local scrapbook store for it. And what this is it's very similar to the shrink art plastic. It's thicker, but it doesn't shrink. You heat it with a heat gun, you bend your leaf, and then you let it cool. It is touchable when it's been heated with the heat gun. If you don't like the way it's shaped, you simply heat it again and it flattens out and heats up again, and you can reshape the leaf. The other thing you're going to need is some garland or ribbon to tie at the top of your ornament so you can hang it. So any thin 1/8" ribbon would work just fine. The last thing you're going to need is something to set your ornament in while you're gluing your leaves on. These are just plastic ice cream cups from Schwann's. I just washed them out. They're perfect for ornaments. As you can see, these ornaments fit perfect inside there. So you just need something to set this in while the alcohol ink is drying and while you're putting your leaves on. I have a tissue around this one because the plastic was scratching up the silver alcohol ink. Okay, the first step in painting your ornament with the silver mixative is to get the top off here. That way you can stick your finger in there, and I just use my felt with my silver alcohol ink, or my silver mixative, and just sponged it. I set it this way, let it dry, and then when it was dry I turned it up this way and did the top of it. And then I took this piece out and I used the silver mixative on the tip, the cover, and then put it back together, and this is what it looked like when I was finished. So that's the first step. It'll take about 15 or 20 minutes for that alcohol ink to dry on the ornament. And the next step then is to cut out your leaves. I know you can't see this very well with my lights overhead, but I got 14 leaves out of about 2.5 inches of the plastic. And I will trace a leaf and show you how to cut it out. Okay, so I'm just going to take my pen and trace around the leaf. Real quickly. And then remove the leaf. My stamped image, actually. And then if you have a set of these Tim Holtz scissors, they work really good. This is pretty thick plastic. So I'm just going to cut this leaf out. Like I said, it's pretty thick plastic. I wouldn't suggest you use your paper cutting scissors or your cardstock cutting scissors. It might dull them. And then you just cut out the leaf. And then you can just wipe that ink right off. And there's your first leaf. I don't know if you can see that. And next step is to color it with the alcohol ink. So you can't see my leaf, but I'm just going to apply some denim ink, and I'm just going to sponge the leaf. Now it looks like it's not very even when you first apply it, but it actually evens itself out and gives you a nice even color once it dries. So you'll need 14 leaves per ornament. So just let that dry. As you know, alcohol ink doesn't take very long to dry. And then our next step is to add our stickles. You don't want to dry the regular stickles with your heat gun, but once the stickles is dry, you can heat it, this plastic, with the stickles on it. Okay, I've got my dried leaf, and as you can see, it's got a little bit of variation, but it's pretty much all the same color. And I am just going to take my stickles and run a line up the middle and a few veins. This stamp came with a vein stamp, but I didn't like it. It was too much. And then I'm just going to outline my leaf with the silver stickles. And the worst part about this project is waiting for the stickles to dry. There we go. And through the magic of my start and stop button on my video camera, I've got my 14 leaves ready to go. And the next step, we're going to start heating these and bending them. Okay, we're going to bend our first 7 leaves for the first layer, which is closest to the ornament. And I'm going to heat this. It's going to be a little noisy, but it will soften up nicely, and then you'll need to work quickly to get it shaped. Okay, it's pretty soft now. I need to bend it up slightly like this. I don't know if you can see that shape. So the first 7 need to sit like this because they need to sit away from the ornament when they're applied. I've got 7 leaves bent like this, and I'm going to start applying them with my hot glue gun, just a dab of glue at the top, and just start placing them right up next to the cover for the top of the ornament, and then just work your way around. Like so. When you have the 7 leaves on, then we'll be ready to bend the rest of the leaves. Excuse me, the noise. That's my glue gun being put back in its plastic holder that keeps it from hitting my table. And there might be a little bit of overlap for the 7 leaves. I'm really dangerous with a glue gun. That's why I have a holder for it, because I've burned my table a few times with it. And see, those are not on properly, so I'm going to pull them off so that I can replace them. They come off really easy. I don't quite have these placed properly, so I'm going to overlap them a little bit. All you have to do is tear the glue off the back of the plastic. It comes off very easy. Apply more glue and overlap them just slightly. I apologize for that misdirection. Like I said, the glue comes off the back of these very easy. Most of the time. There we go. Just overlap them a little bit. You really don't need to worry about what your leaves look like up against the cover for the top of your ornament, because that's going to be covered with a little more glitter. There we go, that's better. There's nothing perfect about these placement on these ornaments, because there's going to be another layer of leaves on. Another 7 layers, so there we go. There's our first layer. We just need to let that glue cool. Remove any glue strings once it's cool. And now we're ready to move on to the next step, which is putting on the next layer of leaves, and we'll have to bend those leaves as well. Okay, I've bent my first leaf for my second layer, and it looks very similar to the first layer. It just doesn't have as much of a curve. You can play around with it. When this leaf layer goes on, it will sit between the other 2 leaves. I don't know if you can see that. So there's not quite as much of a bend. You can bend them so they sit on top of the leaves. I've chosen to have mine sit up above the leaves, so just depends on what you like. So I'll get my 7 leaves bent correctly with the heat gun, and we'll apply those. Okay, I've got my last 7 leaves bent, and I'm going to start applying them. Just a touch of hot glue in between the other leaves, like so. Okay. And these leaves will also overlap like the first layer did. And as you can see, my leaves are not perfectly shaped, nor are they perfectly all bent the same way. Just gives it some individual character for each ornament. This may take a little bit more hold time because you're sticking plastic to plastic with your hot glue gun. You see, that's not stuck on, so I'm going to need some more glue. Sometimes that happens. Just hold that real good right there until it's stuck. There we go. This glue gun is an Arrow TR550. My husband bought it at the hardware store where he works, and he got such a great discount on it that he bought it for me for about the same price as the cheaper brand. And it's like a professional style hot glue gun, and it gets very hot. I have burned my hands so many times with it. Okay, let me see here. I'll put one right here. And there we go. There's the top of my leaves. And as you can see from a side view, they're not all even. They're not all perfect. But the next thing I'm going to do is put some glitter around this edge just so that it looks more uniform. So let me get my glitter. And I'm just going to squeeze a line of glitter around this edge. Just to give it a little more finished look and fill in some of the holes. And as you can see, this takes a lot of stickles, so make sure you have enough on hand if you're going to do more than one. There we go, and that just needs to dry. And while that's drying, I'm going to take my string, or my chenille, oops, and string it through. And tie a knot. There we go. There's my knot, and I'm just going to trim this close. And there's my completed ornament. And I really like the silver and blue together. Kind of reminds me of a snowflake. Thanks for stopping by Jen's Creation Station. I hope you enjoyed making the ornament. Have a great day.